Hello and thank you for watching my video. My name is Astrid Krasniqi. I'm a certified Cisco CCNA and CCNP trainer. Today we are covering Chapter 2, Configuring Network Operating System. This is part of CCNA Semester 1, Introduction to Network. Chapter 2 is divided in 3 sections, and these are the objectives. Section 2.1, iOS Bootcamp. In here we explain the purpose of the Cisco IOS. Then we explain how to access and navigate Cisco IOS to configure network devices. We describe the command structure of the Cisco IOS software. Then I'll do a demonstration how to navigate to the Cisco website for Cisco IOS command reference. Nobody will remember all the commands, so you're gonna have to access this website to remember some of the commands. Then I'll do a demonstration how to navigate the Cisco IOS. Then in section 2.2, Getting Basics, configure the host name on the Cisco IOS device using the CLI. Use Cisco IOS commands to limit access to device configuration. Use Cisco IOS commands to save the running configuration. And then I'll do a demonstration how to configure, well, pretty much all the startup configuration. Then we move to section 2.3, Addressing Schemes. Explain how devices communicate across network media. Configure a host device with an IP address. Verify connectivity between two end devices. Then I'll do a demonstration on configuring initial switch settings and demonstration building a simple network. Okay, let's start. This is section 2.1, iOS Bootcamp of Chapter 2, Configuring a Network Operating System. Operating systems. You must be very familiar with operating system these days. Everything needs an operating system. Even your TV or your satellite receiver, everything has an operating system. It's the interaction between you and the device you are controlling. But all networking equipment depends on operating system as well. The operating system on a home routers, for example, your router at home, is called a firmware. Cisco Inter-Network Operating System is a collection of network operating system used on the Cisco devices. So Cisco calls the operating system iOS, Inter-Network Operating System. All end devices and network devices connected to the internet require an operating system to help them perform their functions. When a router is powered on, it loads the operating system, normally from a disk drive, into RAM. This happens on any other device as well. So if you have a Microsoft Windows 10, for example, when you boot that, Microsoft Windows 10 will take all the operating system from the hard disk and it will load it into RAM. And it runs from RAM. So operating system runs from RAM. The portion of the operating system code that interacts directly with the computer hardware is known as kernel. The portion of that interface with the application and end user is known as the shell. The user can interact with the shell using either command line interface or graphical user interface, GUI. So the hardware that we have here, we can't control the hardware directly. So we control the shell. We control the shell using CLI, command line interface, or GUI, graphical user interface. The shell will control, will inform or tell kernel what to do, and in turn, kernel will actually tell the hardware what to do. So we don't control directly with the hardware. We access the shell. Shell communicates with kernel. Kernel communicates with the hardware. Purpose of the operating system. Network operating systems are in many ways similar to operating system of the PC. An operating system performs a number of technical functions behind the scenes that enables the user to. What do we do in operating system? Use the mouse, view output on a monitor, enter text commands, select option with the dialog box window, and so on. These are everyday, like normal, even the client PCs where you have a Windows or Mac or Linux computer. You're doing every day. You are controlling them with the mouse. You're controlling what's happening inside the operating system. Just as PC may be running Microsoft Windows 8 and MacBook may be running OS X, a Cisco network devices run a particular version of the Cisco IOS. In this course, you'll focus primarily on the Cisco IOS release 15.x. So, for example, Microsoft has different flavors of Windows. For client, I'm talking about. So say it has a Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows 7, Windows 10, and so on. Same, Cisco has a different version of operating system. But the Cisco, it doesn't give a name, it usually gives them numbers. So for example, you have 11.1, 11.2, then you move to 12, 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, then you move to 12.4, and that was the last one. And then we did jump from 12.4 to 15. Now we have 15.x, like 15.0, 15.1, and so on. So dot, 15 is the operating system release, and dot is like the update or like a patch and so on. So iOS is copied from flash into random access memory when the device is powered on. You remember that. So the operating system doesn't run from your hard disk or from flash in the Cisco's operating system, but it runs from RAM. So RAM has many functions, including storing data that is used by the device to support network operations. Running the iOS in RAM increases the performance of the device. However, RAM is considered volatile memory because data is lost during the power cycle. A power cycle is when the device is purposely or accidentally powered off and then powered back on. The quantity of flash memory and RAM memory required for a given iOS varies dramatically. The iOS file itself is several megabytes in size and is stored in semi-permanent memory called flash. Flash memory provides non-volatile storage. This means that the contents of the memory are not lost when the device loses power. Although the contents of flash are not lost during the loss of power, they can be changed or overwritten if needed. This allows the iOS to be upgraded to a newer version or to have new features added without replacing hardware. Additionally, flash can be used to store multiple versions of iOS software at the same time. iOS is copied from flash to volatile RAM. Flash will retain the data even if the device loses power, while RAM will not retain the data if the device loses power. The functions of iOS, major functions performed or enabled by Cisco routers and switches include providing network security. So they can use them as a firewall, or we can apply access lists, so we can deny some packets coming in or leaving our network. IP addressing of virtual and physical interfaces. We can configure an IP address for virtual interfaces or our own physical interfaces, or we can make the router appear as a DHCP, so it will assign IP addresses to end devices. Enabling interface specific configuration to optimize connectivity of the respective media. Routing will route packets from one network to another network. Enabling quality of service, QoS technologies, so that's prioritizing. We can use the router or switch to prioritize some of the packets. Some packets will have better priorities than some other packets. For example, voice packets needs a better treatment, better quality of service than web traffic, for example. Supporting network management tools, how we can manage these devices. Console access method. Most common methods to access the CLI are console, telnet or SSH, and AUX port. Console access method. Console port. Device is accessible even if no networking services has been configured. Out of band. What this means is that we can have like a brand new device and no configuration whatsoever. We put the cable in the console port, we can access the device, and we are not using any bandwidth, so it's out of band. This does need a special console cable, this blue cable. We call it a blue cable, but it's a console cable. Allows configuration commands to be entered. Should be configured with a password to prevent unauthorized access. Device should be located in a secure room, so console port cannot be easily accessed. So if, for example, if we put in lockable cabinet or somebody who has the keys, so somebody doesn't just go into our console port and start accessing our device, because they can change the passwords and I don't know, do damage to our device. We can access it through telnet, SSH, and AUX access methods. So telnet, this method for remotely accessing the CLI over network, but does require active networking services and one active interface it is configured. So you have to go to the interface and give an IP address, and this is inbound, so we're going to use the bandwidth when we access it through telnet. And telnet is not secure. Everything is in clear text. So if you want to be encrypted or more security, then we will use secure shell. It's same remote login similar to Telnet, but it's stronger password authentication and uses encryption when transporting data. And last method is Aux Port. Aux Port is similar to console, but at this time we have to use the telephone line, which is like a modem as well. We have to use a modem, but this is out of band connection as well. You don't need any configuration to start with. Terminal emulation program. Software available for connecting to a network device. We have PuTTY and Terraterm, which are free. Then we have a secure CRT, Hyperterminal, and OS X terminals. These devices, for example, when we connect with a console port to the router, we need something to open, some kind of application so we can access the CLI. And these emulation programs will help us with that. Cisco IOS modes of operation. In hierarchical order, from most basic to most specialized, the major modes are User Executive Mode, User Exec, Privileged Executive Mode, Privileged Exec, Global Configuration Mode, and then we have other specific configuration modes, such as Interface Configuration Mode. Each mode has a distinctive prompt and is used to accomplish a particular task with a specific set of commands that are available only to that node. The hierarchical structure can be configured to provide security. Different authentication can be required for each hierarchical mode. Okay, the best way to explain to you the Cisco IOS modes of operation is if I start a GNS and I'm gonna create just a very small network on the GNS. So I'll cancel this, and the router that I want is this one. I'm gonna start that router, and I'm gonna access that router through secure CRT. So start R1 GNS. Okay, if I want to show you the properties of this, what's set as is set as Telnet 127001 2001. That's for R1 GNS. Okay, the router is booting up. Okay, so the router is ready now for us to enter the configuration commands. Now, as you can see, the router is this mode here. I want you to concentrate on the mode rather than ignore those messages. I'm just pressing enter to see this. Now, router is the name. That's a locally significant name only. At the moment, we are not concerned with that. What we are concerned is this. This is the mode. This is the prompt that is telling you what mode you're on, and by knowing what mode you're on, you would know what you can do in this mode. And this mode is user exec mode, or just user mode. In the user mode, really you can't really do that much. You can see some of the commands, some of the configuration, but not much. For example, here we can do ping. We can ping some device. So ping 10.1.1.0, for example. Okay, we can't ping anything because this router is alone there, doing nothing on its own. Okay, and now for you to move on to a more privileged mode, so you can start configuring and stuff, you have to type enable, and now I want you to pay attention to the prompt. The prompt has changed. You see this prompt now? It has changed. It was telling us we are in user mode. We type enable, now we are in the privileged mode. In the privileged mode, you can do configuration. You are like administrator or sudo of this router. You pretty much can do anything that you want on this router. Now, when we configure, we need to move to another mode, global configuration mode, by typing configure terminal. Now we can see the mode has changed. The mode has changed to global configuration mode. So we have a privileged mode there plus global configuration mode. So we have gone in hierarchy. And then when we configure something like a specific interfaces, that will be specific in interface configuration mode. For example, interface FA00. That's one of the interfaces. Now we can see the mode has changed again. So I want you to pay attention to what mode you're on, because depending on what mode you're on, some of the commands you can do and some of the commands you can't do. For example, you have to be on the correct mode to issue some of the commands. We did here privilege mode. We typed configure terminal, right? and it worked fine. It didn't give us error. So if we type configure terminal here, configure terminal here, see, now it's giving us error, saying, okay, well, there's an error here. You're typing wrong command in the wrong mode. This command is valid only on this mode, right? Okay. Now, these are the most main modes that you really need to remember: the user executive mode, user exec mode, privileged executive mode or privileged exec mode, global configuration mode, and then we have other specific configuration mode such as interface configuration mode. So you can see in the user exec mode, we can do some very limited command. We can do ping, we can do some show command, limited show commands, and we can type enable. Once we move to privilege mode, then all user exec commands, debugging commands, reload, configuration commands, all they will be available in the privilege mode. But then if we want to configure like a name or secret, like enable secret and so on, we have to move to the global configuration mode, which we type configure terminal. And then we have a more specific commands, specific modes like interface mode, router mode, or line mode, and so on. So the two primary modes that we have are user exec mode and privilege exec mode, or for short just user mode and a privilege mode. As a security feature, the Cisco IOS software separates these exec sessions into two levels. The user exec mode allows only a limited number of basic monitoring commands. This is often referred to as view-only mode. The execution of the configuration and management commands require the network administrator use a privileged exec mode, or more specific mode, in the hierarchy. This means the user must enter the user exec mode first, and then from there access privileged exec mode. Global configuration mode and submodes. Global configuration mode and interface configuration mode can only be reached from privileged exec mode. From global config, CLI configuration changes are made that affects the operation of the device as a whole. From the global config mode, the user can enter different sub-configuration modes. Each of these modes allows the configuration of a particular part or function of the iOS device. Now, we are here again in this mode. To get back to the privilege mode, we can type exit twice, exit, like that, and then we are back to the privilege mode. Or we could have typed in it, let's go back, configure terminal, this mode, interface FA00. Now again, we are in interface configuration mode. We can just type end and it will take us all the way back to the privilege mode. Okay, here in the privilege mode. Now we can type disable to go back to the user mode. Now from the user mode, you have to go to the privilege mode to get to the configuration mode. I can't type configure terminal here. It will be error. It will give us error. So we have to type enable first and then configure terminal. Now we can go to the global configuration mode. Now we can give it a password. For someone to get to this mode, we give it a password. Then when somebody types enable, we give another password. So they need to know two passwords. One to get to the console, user mode, and one to get to enable or privilege mode. Okay, so on the global configuration mode, we can do some changes here that will take effect as a whole, router as a whole. For example, one of them will be the host name, the name of the router. So host name R1, floor 2, side room. That's how you would call your router. So that will make a little bit description on the name you are choosing. So you can see the name has changed: R1, floor 2, side room, and so on. But for our exercises or training, we're just going to call it very, very simple: router 1 and router 2 and router 3 and so on. Okay, so I changed the name to R1. Now it's R1. From R1, floor 2, side room, we said earlier on. Okay, so the configuration you do on this mode are a global configuration mode. They will take as a whole, the router as a whole. When you do configuration, for example, on the more specific modes, like line, console 0, console 0. Now here, what we are configuring, we are configuring the line or the console port. So here will not take effect as a global, but just on this console port. So to navigate between iOS commands, to enable and disable commands are used to change the CLI between the use exec mode and the privilege mode respectively. So like we said, so we can go back to the privilege mode by typing end, Control ES to clear the screen. Right, I'm in the privilege mode. So if I want to go back to user mode, I type disable. I'm now in user mode. I can see by the prompt here. Right, user mode, you can't really do much. You can view, limited view. So if you want to configure, or if you want to see everything, show all the commands and this debug commands, you have to go to the privilege mode by typing enable. And now we are in the privilege mode. So enable to go to privilege mode, disable to go to user mode, and exit to get out, all the way out from the router. So if I press enter now, I will go into the user mode. Okay, so navigating between iOS command, to move from the global configuration mode to the privileged exec mode, you enter the command exit. To move from any submodes of the global configuration mode to the mode one step above in the hierarchy of modes, enter the exit command. To move from any submodes of the privileged exec mode to the privileged exec mode, enter the end command or enter the key combination Control Z. So what we're saying here is like, okay, we are in the user mode, right? To go to the privilege mode, we type enable. Now we are like administrator, we can do anything we want to this router. Now we go to configure terminal. We are in the global configuration mode, and then we can go to the interface. So interface FA00. Now we are more specific interface configuration mode. So to move one higher where we were, go back to the global configuration mode, we can type exit, and we are in global configuration mode. If, for example, we want to go all the way to privilege mode, we can just type end, and we are back all the way. Or we can just type exit twice, and that will take you to the privilege mode. The key combination, if you are, for example, interface FA00, one of the interfaces, you can press Control Z, the key combination, and it will take you all the way. That shows I pressed Control Z, it will take me all the way to the privilege mode. And you can see all these messages, they're coming up from the router, and I'm having to press enter. Later on we'll fix that. Okay, now demonstration, command reference, how to navigate to Cisco IOS, command reference to find a command. Now this Cisco has so many commands. Cisco's operating system have so many commands. So for example, if I do show here, show question mark, there's so many commands. No way, nobody will ever remember them, all of them. So there will be time when you have to go to the internet and find out and navigate for some certain commands. Okay, so I'm gonna start Google Chrome, a browser, and we're gonna navigate to Cisco. So just type www, 3 W's, cisco.com. Okay. Now, because the screen is minimized like this, otherwise you will have something support will be in the middle here. If I can see, can you see support? Okay, you just missed it there. But if you don't, because we have a very small screen, so click here. What we want is support. Then we want down here network software iOS. Then you want to continue network software iOS here, and then choose iOS 15 release. So iOS 12 release or iOS 15. So we want the 15. Some of the commands that we're interested are in 15. And then these are the like patches and updates and so on, mainline, train, so on. Or say we have the latest 15.5 MNT. We click on that, and what we want is reference guides. Okay, command reference, and say that we are looking for. Okay, what happened there? Yeah. Say that we are looking for, I don't know, so let's see EIGRP commands. Some EIGRP. Cisco IOS IP routing, EIGRP commands. You can download the whole book, or you can see the commands alphabetically. So say we choose A through H something. I don't know. Let's say bandwidth percentage. Okay, we're interested in that command. So it will explain everything. What's bandwidth percentage command? What does it do? I think I gotta add the window. Yeah, here, bandwidth percentage to configure, and so on. All you do, you're researching all the commands which you can't remember. Okay, and yep. Clear IP IGRP neighbors. Done. That's a command. Okay, so that's the way you go to the internet to or Cisco website to find out some command reference that you're looking for. Let's go back here. I was okay. You will get the support here. Click on support. You go down a little bit and you say networking software, and then choose the iOS that you're using. So 15. iOS 15, and then the release 15.5. Use reference guides and command reference. You have to be familiar with this, yeah. So you have to, on your free time, go here and find out some of the commands. So let's use some rip commands here. Here, rip commands. So you can see the, for example, IP split horizon of rip. Okay, that was the demonstration to show you how to go to the internet and find out the Cisco commands, or Cisco command references. iOS command structure. Basic iOS command structure is the Cisco iOS devices supports many commands. Each iOS command has a specific format or syntax and can only be executed at the appropriate mode. The general syntax for a command is a command followed by an appropriate keywords and arguments. Some commands include a subset of keywords and arguments that provides additional functionality. Commands are used to execute an action, and the keywords are used to identify where or how to execute the command. For example, we have the prompt. In here we have the prompt switch. Command is ping, show. These are the commands. And then space, we give a space, and then the keyword or argument. So we're pinging what? We are pinging this IP address. We are showing what? We are showing IP protocols. So command is ping, show, debug, and so on. And then what are we doing? Who are we pinging? What are we seeing? And so on. And Cisco is very famous for the help menu. They are the best at the help menu. So you have to pay attention here. Context-sensitive help. The iOS has several forms of help available. Context-sensitive help, command syntax checks, and hotkeys and shortcuts. So context-sensitive help provides a list of commands and arguments associated with those commands within the context of the current command. To access the context-sensitive help, enter the question mark at any prompt. Okay, the best way to explain this is to actually demonstrate it to you. Okay, so here for example, say that I enter the letter C and I press the question mark. I'm not putting space and question mark, but I'm just putting question mark right away, right? Now it's telling me all the commands, they start with the letter C. Clear, call home, cd, check flash, or chk flash, and so on. Now if I press cl and question mark, now you see you got rid of all of the commands and it just left clear and clock. So each character that I'm entering is finding the commands that they start with those characters that I have entered. If I enter CLO and question mark, now it gets rid of the clock. Clear. It just leaves the clock. So there's only one command that starts with CLO or clock. I press clock, and I press question mark without the space. Again, it's telling me all the commands that start with those letters. CLOCK, that's only clock. If I press a space now and question mark now it tells me all the commands that start after the command clock. For example, it says clock. You can have the commands that can start after the keywords. They can are arguments that they start after clock, or read calendar, set, update the calendar. So we can choose which one we want to use. Okay, I want to set. So set and then space question mark. If you don't do the space, right? If I put without the space, it's going to tell me the commands. They start with those characters that you have entered. So clock, set, question mark right away. Well, it says only set is available here now. If I put with a space and question mark, it tells me the commands that start after those two commands, clock, set. So for example, now we can see that it wants the hours, the current time, minutes, and seconds. It actually displays how you have to enter it. So let's say that it's 10 o'clock, 00 minutes, and 00 seconds. That's just the way we enter it. And space question mark again. Now it's asking for day of the month that you can enter, or month of the year. Some countries around the world, they use the month of the year first. Here in UK, we use day of the month first. So it will be second, 2, and then it's going to ask you for a month. What month we are using? Well, we are in October, so OCT space question mark, and then he's asking for a year. What year? So today is 2015, 2nd October 2015. Enter. Now before I press enter, then let me repeat the command. By repeating the command is press up arrow and repeat the old command you typed. Don't press enter like me. Like I did a mistake. I pressed enter right away. Press space and then question mark. When you see the CR, that means that okay, that's it. The command is valid and you can press enter. There's no mistakes there whatsoever. Okay, press enter. Once you see the CR. If you don't see the CR while you're learning the commands, don't press enter. Okay, and always use a question mark with the space to see what commands come after the letters you have entered. Without space, how the commands should be entered. Okay, so now if we go to contact syntax checks, when a command is submitted by pressing the enter key, the command line interprets parses the commands from left to right to determine what action is being requested. If the interpreter cannot understand the command being entered, it will provide a feedback describing what is wrong with the command. We have 3 command syntax checks here available for you. For example, let's see if we make a mistake here, right? Again, let's go to clock set. But this time, I'm going to misspell this. I'm going to misspell the set to TE, clock, STE, and then I'll remember the rest of the command, and I don't press question mark here because it's going to say unrecognized command. Don't know what you mean. But say I just press enter. Now you can see that it says invalid input detected at marker. You can see the marker is at the T, saying okay, well you have typed there wrong. So excellent way to see where the problems are. Do not ignore these messages. I have students most of the time, well, new students, they say, oh, did I enter that command? Yeah, I did enter that command. And then I'll go up and have a look, like visit up, and say, oh, well, this says there's been a mistake here. Oh, I didn't see that. So don't ignore these. When it says invalid detected in the marker, look at the marker. Oh, it says there. Okay, so what you can do, up arrow, go up to there where it says there's a problem, delete that as well by backspace here, and hit the question mark there. Now he wants set, S-E-T, no S-T-E. Okay, I'll put S, set like that, properly. Now, say that I put the day of the month first. Say I put the month first and then the year. For example, let's say 30 September 2015. 2015. And then I'll put the time. So 10 o'clock and press enter. Now, you see the problem here? It says, okay, well, 30, because it wants the hours first, yeah? So there's 30, there's no hour, right? So all I can do is I can go back all the way to there, delete that as well, and then press question mark. It wants hours, colon, minutes, colon, second, current time. So I'm fixing that. Okay. And then space, question mark. And then you can always go in with the space, question mark. So it's 2 October, space, question mark, 2015, space, question mark. I see the CR. Great. This command is valid. Okay. So the first problem we saw, or actually the help from Cisco, saying that is identifying where the problem is. The Cisco reads from left to right until it sees a problem, then it's going to identify where the problem is. For example, if you make two problems, say I make here 45 October, right? Oh, doesn't exist. But I'm having two problems. I have T here, the problem is misspelled, and 45 here. Press enter. Now again, the Cisco says here's the problem, because it's reading them from left to right, and it found the problem is here. It stopped there. It doesn't read the rest. It's not interested. It just says you have to fix that first, up to there, right? So let's go and fix that. Well, I'm gonna leave the 45 still as a mistake. Press enter. You see now it's gone. It's read all the way. Everything is good up to here. Can't be 45. Can be 4, but not 45. Okay. The second help menu that we have here, or help context help that we have here, is called incomplete commands. For example, some of the students, or most of us, even me, sometimes we are too rushed to do things, right? So say that we put the clock back to where was clock set, all that, 10 o'clock, 2 October 2015. Say that we didn't put 2015, we just put it like that, and press enter. Now the router or the switch, the device is saying, okay, well, it's incomplete command. I need more information, right? I need more information. That's why it says incomplete command. Well, you're missing 2015. So I use the up arrow and hit the question mark, right? It needs a year, so 2015, space, question mark, CR is valid, right? So until you see the CRs. For example, if I rush too quickly and I press enter again, it's going to say incomplete command. The last help type we have is ambiguous commands. For example, if I type CL question mark, it's clear and clock. If I type CL and press enter, now the router says, oh, it's ambiguous command. I don't know. Do you mean clear or do you mean clock? Which one do you mean? So if I type CLO and hit enter, now it's incomplete command. Because CLO, he knows, okay, well, he wants clock, but he hasn't entered the rest where it needs to be entered, the set and the time and date and so on. But ambiguous command, it just means there's too few letters you have typed. It doesn't know, do you mean this command or that command? You haven't given enough specific letters for a single command. And hotkeys and shortcuts, the one key is tab, which completes a reminder of partially typed command or keyword. This is very good. For example, okay, Alt E S to clear the screen. So for example, if I type CL and hit the tab, nothing happens. CLO and hit the tab, oh, it knows, okay, wants clock, because there's not enough specific characters for this command. If I type S, because if I put the question mark here, read starts with R, S start with S, set start with S, update starts with U. So if I type S and hit the tab, see, it will fill the rest for me, right? So for example, say that we want to put CO and question mark. We say configure, connect, connected, copy. Well, I want copy, so COP and hit the question mark. That's tab. Copy, say run and hit the tab, running config, it will fill it for me. And then start and hit the tab, it will fill the rest of the commands for me. Okay, it's good to know this, but don't use them as much, because while you're learning, try and write down and spell all the commands. You will remember them easy. Okay, I have one PC here. For you who don't know where the tab is, let me open the keyboard. On-screen keyboard. Tab is here. So this key. So you type COP and tab, it will fill it for you. Okay. Alright, now next one we're gonna move on is Control R. Nah, don't worry about that one. You're not going to be using that much, but it will redisplay a line. Control A, on the other hand, is really good. It's very useful, and you will be using it a lot. Well, hopefully not a lot. For example, say that I do host name, and I want to put R1. I want to put R1 floor 2 side room, like that. That's what I want to do. But imagine that I made a mistake, yeah? So instead of putting R1, I'll put R2. R2, like this. I just realized, okay, well, it's supposed to be R1, but it's now R2. So what I need to do is put up arrow and change it. Obviously, go back and change it. But say that I want to just negate or remove this command altogether. I'll press Control A to go in front of the command and type no. And that will remove, or it will delete, negate command, the old command you put. So you put no in front, right? No, enter. You see in the back, it's gone back to the router default. So when you do some configuration, say that you put, like we said, R1 for example, like that. But say I don't want this command. I made a mistake. I need to repeat the command. Use the up arrow, Control A to go in front, and then no. Press no space. That will remove the old command. So yeah, it's very, very useful shortcut here. Control Z, exit the configuration mode and return to the user exec mode. This we covered before. So Control Z together, it will actually go to the privilege mode. Down arrow, up arrow, well, we know that when we use the up arrow, for example, it will no, sorry, don't want to start the notepad. Okay, up arrow, it will recall the old commands that we typed. Whatever we typed here, it will recall them. Down arrow will go all the way down now to what we started with. Then we have a Control-Shift-6, allows the user to interrupt the iOS process, such as ping or traceroute. So, for example, say that I start traceroute. Traceroute. Say 10.1.1.1. Doesn't exist. Because again, if you remember, this is just on its own. So, traceroute obviously is not going to work because they go, no interface is even started. So configure terminal. You told me that I always shortcut this one. Config T. Everybody does it, but configure terminal is the proper command. Then I have to go to the interface. So interface FA00. Give an IP address. IP address say 10.1.1.100 and subnet mask. And bring this interface up. So no shutdown. Let's see if the traceroute now works. So if I go traceroute, yeah. So now it's doing the traceroute. It's going through the. Let me stop that. Okay. Because some of the messages that came and interfering with what we want to do. So let's do the traceroute again. Okay. Now, obviously it's not going to work because there's no any connection and there's no 10.1.1.1. But I want to show you how to stop. You can stop this. It says here, type the escape sequence to abort, right? So escape sequence, as we learn here, it's Control-Shift-6 and then X. So we press Control-Shift-6. No, just without X, just Control-Shift-6. I'm thinking of something else with X. To stop the session, some session. You'll learn it later. But to stop the traceroute, Control-Shift-6, or to the escape sequence for ping and traceroute. And then Control-C exits the current configuration or aborts the current commands. For example, if you started some wizard in the beginning and you want to abort that, you have to press Control-C. That will stop the wizard. So iOS examination commands. In order to verify and troubleshoot network operating, we must examine the operating of the devices. So operation of devices. The basic examination command is the show command. Use the show command to get a list of available commands in a given context or mode. A typical show command can provide information about the configuration, operation, and status of a part of the Cisco switch or router. For example, here, say we type show and question mark. I'm not hitting enter. Just as soon as you type question mark, that will take effect. You can see the first page. Second time, I'm pressing the spacebar to get rid of this, to go down, 3rd page, 4th page, 5th page, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times I had to press spacebar to go all the way down to the last commands. You can see there's a lot of commands. There's a lot of show commands available for us here. Okay, good. You don't need to know all of them. You need to know some very important ones. For example, if you want to see what interfaces are on this router, so we will say show IP interface brief. That will show us what interfaces are in this router. Well, we can see there is fast Ethernet 00 on this router and fast Ethernet 01 on this router. It has not. I don't like the way it's appearing. So let me reduce the fonts again a little bit. So got to 9 maybe. Okay. Let's increase this. Still. Okay, go to 8. Because I want them to be in one line, yeah? Okay, let's try. Yeah, this is better. So you can see show IP interface brief. You can see that it got 2 interfaces. First interface fast Ethernet 00. It's got an IP address which we give now. We gave it. And the status and protocol is up. And it's got other interface fast Ethernet 01 and doesn't have an IP address. And state is okay, method is unset, and here is layer 1 information administratively down, and layer 2 information is down as well. Okay, we'll explain these later on the other chapters. For example, another command that will be show running config. What's running configuration of this router? And this will build the configuration, everything that's actually on RAM. Remember, RAM was volatile. So if I power down this device, all this configuration that I haven't saved is gonna be deleted or removed. Okay, we have another one, show startup config. That means that if I reload the router, this configuration will be there, right? You see the interface FA00 doesn't have an IP address. If I go back up to running configuration, so running configuration has got an IP address, but if I reload this router, it will lose that IP address. You see, I have to save the configuration for it to be stored, or information to be retained in the power cycle. Remember, power cycle was switch the router off and then switch it back on, and so on. So I have to say copy running config to startup config. So what I'm doing here, destination file name, startup config, press enter, yep, and then it's going to save the running configuration to startup configuration. So on the boot, the router will have the information still there. Another command that is important. I'm not going to do the demonstration. I've been doing the demonstration while we are learning here, so you saw the whole demonstrations. One command that is good as well. Alt-ES show version. Show version will display pretty much everything there is a router is capable of. For example, look how much is uptime, right? Some people have this for years, the uptime. It will display to you the operating system that you're using, whatever operating system you're using, what operating system you have, the router, the model of the router, the RAM, how much, this is the model of the router that we are using, what processor, how much RAM we have, what kind of interfaces are there available, what is a NVRAM, what is the flash RAM, what is flash, and the configuration register as well. But again, this we will learn this on other chapters, a bit more what is show version. But show version is very useful command. For example, if you want to sell a router on eBay or something, or if you want to buy the router from the eBay, you see what is on the show version, pretty much you can tell everything about the router. What it's capable of, how much memory it's got, what kind of router is it, what interfaces you have, and so on. Okay, the NVRAM is here, yeah. Okay, we're done. So I'll see you in section 2.2, getting basic. Bye bye, and thank you very much for watching my video.